Are you sick of seeing places like this, or like this, sold off and shut down in your local community? This week, Parliament discussed a new law, the Community Right to Buy, which will give community groups first dibs when these places go up for sale. What that means in practice is that if your local pub, your local shop, your local park or library goes up for sale, you and your community will have the chance to buy it, own it and run it. We're here today to chat to people about what they think about this transformative new law and what it might mean for them and their communities.
I think it's a great idea. I think we should absolutely be prioritising our communities. And we're seeing the closure of loads of pubs and community centres, but the idea of giving kind of first refusal to those community groups feels like a good idea to me.
And so you think like community ownership of those spaces, like why is it better than the alternative maybe?
Because we should try and protect our kind of community spirit as much as we can, and local people and people should be able to have the opportunity to set up their own businesses in the heart of their community that they've built and they've been brought up in.
And is community ownership of like your local pub, for example, is that something you would be interested in or would be up for getting involved with, do you think?
Well, I'd have to see what that actually looks like. I don't know if I'd be pulling pints anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see what that proposal looked like and how that would be run and how it would be authentically integrated into the community.
Essentially, when like pubs, libraries, parks, things on the high street become available to buy, community groups will get first dibs to buy them over private buyers. Just interested in your thoughts on that. How does it sound to you? Does that sound like a thing?
Because I think that's what we need more of on high streets rather than shops that you can find in the centre of any big city.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's, particularly where I live, I think it's a really good idea. There's a lot of empty shops there and they just feel like they're waiting. So I think to have a local, like a community hub, or there was a place near us and it was like the baking cakes and it was like they did like sewing nights and knitting nights. I think it's really important to have that kind of stuff to create community. And the possibilities are endless, I think, but I think it's a really good idea to have that kind of, to have it as a community first space.
Communities have more connection with the customers. That's what I feel. Yeah.
And so with this law, like you as a member of the community could like own that space, and so you could have like a stake in it. Is that something that you would be interested in? You think it's good?
Yeah, I think it is good, and I personally know people. Some of my friends, they used to own the pubs and they have run it, pub and restaurant, they have run it, and those pubs were more favorite of the local people because they knew the person and they knew, oh, it is her pub, and so they would like to go there rather than a big chain. So yeah, I would like to be part of that. I like that idea.
Amazing. And do you think that like more community spaces is a good thing?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah.
So basically the government introduced a new law that basically means that communities can own things like local pubs, local shops, local libraries, parks, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that rather than getting sold off and bought up by private developers, they can get owned by the community. What do you think about it?
Love it.
Love it?
Yeah, I think the sell-off of the UK state, high streets, all that stuff, it's really just screwing over the country. We've got faceless corporations that own such integral parts of our communities, and people don't feel they've got a stake. Like anywhere you go, everyone goes, the high street's dying. I don't know about what your local high street. To be fair, Clapham High Street actually is absolutely buzzing, but that's only because of how many young people flock there. But loads of high streets are so depressing. So I think having community-driven concepts of actual ownership and deciding, okay, this is the buildings, these are the businesses that we want on our high streets is so reflective and good for the local community.
So if there was an opportunity to get involved in like community ownership on your high street, or like would you be up for that? Do you think you'd be interested in it?
Again, Clapham High Street, where I grew up, very unique case because that high street is actually popping off and it's just full of like bars for Australians. But if I live somewhere and when I put down roots, eventually I'd love to be involved in something like that. I think it's so important, like having that focal point where you can actually make real connections. Like I'm out shopping today because I want to go and try things on, not just buy products online. Like there's people who are in the shops because they're passionate about it and they are knowledgeable about that, but instead I just go on, or everyone just goes on ChatGPT and like ask that for their opinion, and that is going to down the line cause the death of so many things. I think it all comes back to us being over dependent on devices and not having good brick and mortar buildings that we can actually go and utilise as a community.
Yeah. So you think that kind of like social infrastructure that's gone over many years maybe needs to come back a bit, like build back?
I'm not old enough to remember it being too different, but like I know I was like becoming a teenager when austerity started and everything started shutting down. I don't like going on the high street because it's it's quite dreary.
And so you think if communities are in charge, that would hopefully be different?
Well, yeah, everyone would have a vested interest, but also more importantly, what would be on the high street would actually cater to the locals' needs, rather than just what's real profitable cash-in-hand businesses that, you know, I don't need. I just want a bit more variety and a bit of community planning as to actually going, okay, let's think about what people actually need. You know, I think you can also have death by independent coffee shop, but like, if there's too many of one thing, it's like palm trees. It's not good for local biodiversity, but I think it's just super important that we actually think through what goes on our high streets at the epicentre of our communities, rather than just letting whoever's got enough money to put through an application get it.
We're basically just out today talking to people about a new law that the government's going to introduce, which is called the Community Right to Buy. And basically what it is community assets, so local pubs, local shops, local parks or swimming pools, leisure centres, community centres, all that kind of stuff. It basically means that when they go up for sale, community groups have the first opportunity to buy them before the private market, basically. And so that's a new law, basically, that's being introduced. So we're just chatting to people about what they think about it, basically.
I think it's a very good idea. Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea. I think that's what should happen. I think the community should be allowed to have the first rights of sale for something like that for the community, for the children, because I think private buying doesn't do the right thing for the community. They build too many things, high-priced things that people can't afford, and I think nowadays giving people the opportunity to buy things and maybe be able to afford to buy things rather than going to private buyers and then building expensive properties, and it doesn't work.
And have you noticed in your community like lots of things closing down, empty shops, that kind of thing?
Absolutely, especially in Hastings. There's a lot of people, a lot of shops closing down, a lot of small shops are closing down. I found the bigger shops are taking over, and the small shops, one-man shops, family shops, closing down. It's very sad.
And so how do you think sort of community ownership, so communities owning the stuff and running it themselves for the community, like how would that change things, do you think? Like does that sound positive to you?
It does sound positive to me, but I always feel that anything that goes to the community, as long as they are honest and they are genuinely for the community, then that's the way to go.
So community ownership, communities getting involved in this stuff, you know, local community centres, youth clubs, all that kind of stuff, is that the kind of thing that you think yourself or people in your community would be up for, interested in?
I think so, they would do, because I think you see so many children, and especially teenagers, who don't have anywhere to go. They have absolutely nowhere to go, and they end up with their faces on a screen. That's all they do. And I think having community centres, having places for youth to go to interact with each other, as opposed to sitting by themselves in their room, on their computers, on their phones. I think just having a community spirit is much healthier.
I mean, I like it as an idea, certainly. I think that local community is much better than private businesses in being in charge of these things, and they're more likely to care for the actual the institutions that are present. So yeah, no, I think at least on the surface, I think it sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Like, from what I've heard,
yeah,
sounds good.
What you've delivered to us, I think sounds really good so far. Yeah.
And is that something that you've seen in your community where you're from? Maybe that places shutting down and maybe staying closed.
I mean, yeah, just in general, definitely in terms of local libraries and things where people have kind of tried to band together to keep things open. I think is genuinely important, and I think it gives me pride in my community when I see that. So I hope it can be in more places and give everyone pride in their own communities and sort of the people that they know. Yeah.
And do you think that community ownership of those types of spaces, is that something you would be up for getting involved with, do you think, if it was an option?
Definitely, yeah. I'm quite progressive in politics and kind of definitely sort of care about individual workers' rights and things. So I think that, yeah, it's the sort of thing that I would, if I heard more of, kind of try and get involved in, yeah.
Everyone we've spoken to today has been really excited about the Community Right to Buy, and they're really up for the idea that communities could take control of the places that matter most to them. This is why we believe in community ownership, and if you do as well, then join the Co-operative Party.